All right, welcome to episode 38 of the Talking Friars podcast. I'm here with a special guest, Stephen Woods, host of the Ben and Woods Show on 97.3 The Fan. Absolutely beloved here in San Diego by Padres fans and by pretty much everyone I know. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk.
It's my pleasure, man. I love that you guys have swooped in all these Padres podcasts that were around for so many years when the Padres were so bad.
Mhm.
Everybody's like, well, now they're really fun and good, so we don't have anything to really complain about anymore. So,
Yeah.
very smart, opportunistic, intelligent business move by you guys.
Yeah. All right. So first, before we will get to you, let's start with Padres talk here. Are you disappointed at all with what you've seen from the Padres so far this season?
I think aspects of it, yeah. I think man, I'm 46 next Monday, and in those 46 years, I have never seen a team go 162 and 0. Sorry, I just got a call. Okay, I've never seen a team go 162 and 0. It will never happen in baseball. Um, I've seen 100-win regular season teams absolutely, soil themselves in the playoffs. It's such a long game, and I know that sometimes when you're watching a game in April or May and the pitcher's at 85 pitches and they pull him, it makes you crazy, right? Regular guys like me, like that aren't in those dugouts and with those players every day, you don't realize, man, I got to be thinking his next start. I got to be thinking 10 starts down the road. It actually can drive you a little bit crazy, I would imagine, if you were a big league manager. So for the Padres to be at where they are right now with 69 games left to play, I don't, when I look back at this half season, man, I don't feel disappointment. I feel a little bit of frustration, but I talked about it on the air the other day. So much more joy than disappointment this year, man. So much more joy. And think about it, if you're a Padres fan, I've been here 11 years. When can you have said that, about a first half of the season? Like, we got to prepare ourselves for the fact that you may not win a World Series this year. You may not. And I'm not going to look at this season as a disappointment if they don't. I love this team. I love the manager. I love everything about it. I love the general manager. And I think all the right guys are in place. And, to be in it right now is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it, man, covering it the second half. No, I have no disappointment.
Okay. One guy obviously fans are probably disappointed with is Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Were our expectations for him too high because of what we saw, partly because of what we saw in the World Series last year?
I think I'm as guilty as anybody for placing high expectations on Blake Snell. I've been a fan of his for a long time. I love what he has. I mean, dude, the one thing that he has and he's had in every start is stuff. Now, whether he can control that stuff and throw enough strikes and get enough outs is the other question. I will say this, I think he's going to be an integral part of the Padres moving forward in the second half. And, he has to be, really. Like, we need more from him. And the thing I love about Blake, I had the chance to talk to him a couple times. He'd be the first guy to tell you, I got to do better.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, though, there's an old saying that I hate when it's used on me, but it's true. Don't talk about it, be about it. And that one, it kills you when you hear it. And you're like, oh, I need to get in shape, or I need to be a better dad, or a better husband, or a better employee. And they're like, I've heard this before. Like, stop talking about it, start being about it. And it hurts when you hear it because it's true. And I think he'd tell you, and it's like, all right, man, you got 96, 97 from the left side. You have a wipeout slider. You got a devastating changeup. What's going on here and why you can't put it all together? So I'm telling you, man, the start probably going to be Saturday night against the Nationals. He hasn't been great on the road. But dude, yeah, you need 5 innings of, no run ball at almost a minimum from that guy. Let's set the tone early for the second half.
Yeah, and I think one of the frustrations with him is that he just hasn't, kind of like Paddock, which I'll get to, he just hasn't given length. He hasn't given consistency, and it's mind-boggling because you know the talent, but it's just he hasn't been consistent with it. I've said multiple times on this podcast, I think it's just the game plan sometimes. Maybe he, goes away from that. I think he should attack more with the fastball.
Oh, yeah.
Use that more same game plan that Paddock has, and I think he'll have more success. I mean, I don't buy the whole home road split thing. I just think it's consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because, everybody has a plan of what they want to do. And let's say and I think he's done it in a couple starts. I can't remember the exact starts, but came out just pumping the fastball, right? Guys are going to get hits. They're really good players at the big league level. And the other team, they have good players too, really, no matter who you're playing. I mean, even if you're playing the lowly Rockies, they still have guys that can mash on that team. And if you get away and you get hit early, it's about kind of, sticking with the plan and, but also being able to move it around. I mean, he nibbles a lot. And I think you can't be afraid of failure and be a successful pitcher in the big leagues. Now, whatever he did to win that Cy Young, do that. Obviously, if it was that easy, he would. But you can't be afraid to get barreled. You just can't. You have to trust in your ability and your stuff. And he has such good stuff. And I do think he gets a little bit like, ooh, man, they got good barrel on that. Let me throw my changeup now. Well, that's in the dirt. Well, now they know I can't throw a changeup anymore, so they're going to sit fastball. And it just spirals quickly. And I think he thinks a little bit too much. I think he's probably been conditioned to look over his shoulder a little bit based on his time in Tampa. And I'm not just talking about the World Series start. I think he's been conditioned a little bit to oh man, I'm in trouble. I walked a guy or I gave up 2 hits in a row. They're getting somebody up. Like, forget it. Focus on the mitt. Go get it. What do I know? I don't know shit, about being a big league pitcher, but I do know that I know good stuff when I see it. And his stuff is well above average, like well above average. And I think that's what makes it the most frustrating. He's not some spare, throwing 89 and, he may touch 90. No, dude, he's got electric stuff in the bag. And it's just like, stick to your plan. Don't be, have no fear out there and just go out and throw like you can. And I love him. I mean, I still love him. He's a media member's dream. I mean, he's accessible. He's funny. He's not corny and cliched. That's refreshing. So I give him probably more of a pass than most because he makes my job 1,000 times better and way more fun than just your typical, yeah, well, I'm working hard and good things will happen. And like, he's like, no, I sucked or this sucks or whatever. I like that. I like that. It's refreshing for me.
Mm-hmm. Moving to Chris Paddack, he's shown flashes like Snell. He's shown flashes of his 2019 self, but overall just hasn't been consistent enough. So do you think he can get back to being that 2019 version? Because it's all mental. I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, he's a guy that I like to put him up against Ryan Weathers, right? And Ryan Weathers gets balls hit really hard off of him, and Ryan Weathers kind of doesn't let it phase him. Chris will let things snowball, the big innings, and it's okay to give up a hit. It's okay to give up 2 hits. It's okay to give up a home run. It happens. I mean, the best pitchers in the game give up home runs, all of them, and with Chris, it's like you can almost see it, when things start to get sped up for him. I like a lot of what I've seen from him though this year. I do. I love the curveball. It's a plus pitch now. It's a weapon. Yeah, I read online. I see like, oh, is he tipping his pitches? Look, man, I played baseball for 25 years. I've never been able to pick up somebody tipping their pitches, so I couldn't tell you. Sometimes he gets hit hard, and it happens. It happens to the best pitchers out there. Garrett Cole is one of the best pitchers out there, and I've seen him just get murdered on the mound. Then I've seen him go out and throw 129 pitches and throw a 1-inning or 1-0 shutout. It's a weird thing. It's a weird job to have, a starting pitcher. And, Chris feels, to me, at least just from somebody who watches every game, it feels more mental. It does. It feels more mental. And he is the opposite of Blake Snell in that his post-game pressers are usually the same kind of canned, working hard, liked a lot of what I did.
Yeah.
And I'm encouraged. I need to believe in him. We all do. Because if he can harness that lightning that we had in a bottle in 2019, what a weapon that will be come October, right? He may not even get a start in a playoff series, but having a weapon that's confident that he can get guys out, man, in October, I mean, he could be a literal difference maker for this team.
Yeah. Staying in the rotation, obviously there's been injuries over the past week. Some of these guys on the IL, fans want to panic and say, oh, now Preller needs to get, 2 or 3 starters, but they got to remember that these things are retroactive. So it's not really that bad. It's kind of just precautionary. But with that said, how many do you think it's 1 or 2 starters? How many starters do you think AJ and Josh Stein, the rest of the front office, should go get?
I would say you almost unequivocally have to have 1. You have to get 1. And whether that is Zach Davies coming back, whether that is a more frontline type guy, I don't know that you want to overpay tremendously for a Max Scherzer, even though it would be awesome. I mean, it would be awesome to see, a guy like that. But look, at some point this season, my whole shtick all year, basically on the air, has been, look, they're being careful with the starters and they're maxing out the bullpen because you figure that as the season progresses, that will start to change a little bit. They're going to let starters go deeper. They're going to, and then the bullpen will get more rest and it should balance out. Doesn't always work out that way, right? If Paddack goes out Friday night and against the Nationals and goes 3 innings, we're okay, right? Everybody's rested. Yeah. But if Snell goes out Saturday night and goes 3 innings, then you're in a bit of trouble. And then, I can't remember who's pitching Sunday.
Musgrove, I think.
Was it Musgrove? If he goes out and goes 3-4 innings, at some point, man, somebody other than you, Darvish, needs to step up and give some length. And you need to string a couple of those together or stagger them. It seems to snowball really quickly on this team. And I just feel like getting 1 guy could help ease that burden a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to remember in the postseason, they're, running out 3 or 4 guys, right? You're not running out the 5th guy. Maybe it's in the bullpen, you put Ryan Weathers in the bullpen, but you're not running out that guy and saying, okay, give me 5-6 innings here in a game 5. That's not happening because of the offense.
No. Yeah. You Darvish is going to go games 1 and 4 and, hell, maybe even 7. You just never know. It just depends on what guys have in the tank in October. And we all remember the great, Mad Bums postseason and things like that. I mean, it's pretty rare, but you think about the Nationals run and, Anibal Sanchez, who was like their 4 or 5 guy throughout the season, dude stepped up. Spot starts, 5-6 innings. I mean, the postseason is such a magical place where, Manny Machado may not be the star. It may be Trent Grisham. It may be Will Myers. It just depends on what happens and who's ready for that moment. So, I mean, obviously you got to get there. You got to get there. So you're going to need guys that can literally eat innings. The offense is going to need to, be more consistent and score more runs. I love the brand of baseball they play. I love it. I love stealing bags. I love taking extra bases. The defense has got to get cleaned up. It's been an issue all year. It shouldn't be an issue, but it is. And I just think all of that together, we talk about it all the time. It's like a mantra on our show. We still have not seen this team playing its best baseball. Really. I mean, even they've ripped off some good streaks. Still haven't seen them play their best baseball yet. I still fully believe that lies ahead.
Mm-hmm. One guy I think that has a chance, obviously assuming that they do make it, of being the star, Eric Hosmer, just because of how he steps up in big situations. Are you worried about him and Will Myers at all?
I would say I'm more worried about Eric Hosmer today than I think I've ever been in his career in San Diego. I was a big fan of the signing. I got a story from an insider, and this person told me he was in an adjoining office the day that Eric Hosmer came to meet with Ron Fowler, essentially about the Padres being interested. What are you looking for? Here's what we need. And that insider was in the next office and watched Hosmer walk in and said to the guy he was talking to, he goes, "That's a big leaguer. That's a big leaguer." He was in a suit, probably a $3,000 suit.
Mm-hmm.
He looked sharp. He was put together. And he goes, "That's a big leaguer." Now, no human alive is going to turn down that amount of money. Nobody. You won't. I won't. Everybody on Twitter won't. You take what they give you. He's never going to live up to 144 million ever. He could hit 70 bombs next year and somebody will find something wrong with him. I'm more worried about him now because I think for the first time ever, it may be starting to get to him just a little bit. I think maybe for the first time in a long time, he may read things and see things and hear things secondhand, about how much of the fan base is not only like not pulling for him, but like actively rooting against him. And that's,
I think it's because it's expectations now. 2019, there wasn't really high expectations.
right.
Now it's like, okay, fans are in the ballpark. You're not performing. You're making errors sometimes. I think the expectations has a big role in that.
I couldn't agree more. And, you look at it from a over 30,000 foot view, and you see the batting average, you see the RBIs, you see the hits with runners in scoring position. You go, oh yeah, not bad. And then when you do a little bit deeper dive, you're like, oh God, this is like really real. I didn't even know. I covered the team, and I was like, wow. I guess I didn't realize, by a lot of these advanced metrics, he's one of the worst first basemen in baseball, and you can't have that on a championship team. Do any of us have any idea how great he is in the locker room? No. Well, we hear things, you hear stuff. You know that he's beloved by his teammates, right? Like he's first guy, top of the step, him and Manny, slapping five, and he's pulling for guys, and you can't say the same. There's been other guys that have been in this organization that weren't that way, at all. They were big me guys. They weren't team guys. I am concerned about it because I do think lately, I think he's been hurting us more than he helps us. I love the dude. I want him to do well. I want the Padres to win a World Series. But I also am of the opinion, if a guy's not performing, you gotta make a switch, and whether that's Cronenworth at first, Myers at first, whatever, go get Gallo, put him in right field, put Gallo at first some games. Look, at the end of the day, if you are as big of a team guy as you are purported to be, shouldn't be a problem. I mean, look, if they came to me on my radio show and said, you guys are doing good, but we got this guy, he's going to make you better, and it's going to take some of your mic time and some of the spotlight or whatever, and I'd say, are you sure he'll help us win? He will? Great. Let's get him in the door. There's plenty to go around, and everybody contributes through the course of 162 games. So it's an ego thing. It's hard. It's got to be hard. He was the man in Kansas City. I got buddies from Kansas City that he's just beloved in that town. And it's got to be hard, man, to come in and struggle. And yeah, 144 million eases a lot of those worries. But, I'm pulling for him to have a good, solid. It's really all we need. Good and solid. Like, you don't even have to be spectacular by any stretch. Just better on defense and a little better on offense. He's hitting the ball a little better these days. Hopefully that continues. But, You don't even have to be special. You don't have to be Tatis. You don't have to be Manny. Solid. Just be solid. Yep.
Yeah, because they have plenty of firepower in that lineup. It gets deeper, obviously, when him and Myers are some kind of a threat at the plate. I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's all right. So I can't not talk to you about Fernando Tatis Jr. He's my MVP, leads the NL in homers and stolen bases. If he keeps this up, I get DeGrom has been historic. He's been great, but he has gone through injuries. I know Tatis has as well. But if he keeps this up, would voters even have a chance of voting, or excuse me, not voting for Tatis for MVP?
Not in my book. I mean, it's pretty simple. You give Jacob DeGrom the Cy Young he so deserves, and you give Fernando Tatis Jr. The MVP, and he's my MVP also for the first half. I know there's some errors and things there, but he gets the balls nobody really should. And look, he's 22 years old. For the love of God, he's electric. He's everything. You run out of words to describe him and what he means to not only the team and the wins and losses, but to the fans and the city. And he's somebody that everyone can grab onto and hold on to as our own. And I'm super proud of him and super proud to be a fan of his, and like, I'll tell you, I took my little son to a game, 3 years old, and my wife actually got a picture of Fernando waving to my son. And you can't even describe, I'll never forget it. He won't remember it, but we have a picture of it, and I'll never forget it till the day I die. One of the most special moments ever, and he gets it. He's that kind of guy. But yeah, DeGrom, great. He's the best pitcher. Give him the best pitcher award, which
That's
is the
what it's
Cy
for.
Young.
Yeah,
That's what it's for. And it's like, you're not going to give a position player the Cy Young award. It's just don't give a pitcher the MVP. I'm actually fairly against it. I really am. He's very valuable. He's the best maybe that ever do it. But holy smokes, that's why he wins the Cy Young. It's easy.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I hadn't heard that before. Moving to Don Orsillo and Mark Grant. How lucky are we to listen to these guys have their conversations on a nightly basis?
I think, and I watch a lot of baseball across the country. And anytime you watch if you flip on a game and it's the Cubs or the Giants, and you sit and you listen, and you're like, holy crap, dude, this is like, it's excruciating. Actually, we're so spoiled. I've gotten the amazing opportunity to become friendly with those guys the last few years. Mud always out at fantasy camp. I've played on his fantasy camp team for 2 years. We have an absolute blast. One of the best storytellers. Got a chance to sit down with Don last week, and I mean, it was so great. We did like a 10-minute interview with him, but we talked to him for probably 30 minutes before, and it was story after story. And that's a guy. It's funny. He's got championship pedigree. He knows what it's like to call, a championship team a few times. And he's come in and embraced San Diego, and San Diego has returned the favor. And Mud is just a treasure. I mean, for me, it literally doesn't get better. And I know we're spoiled. They're friends, whatever. I'm being objective. They're the best duo in Major League Baseball, period. I mean, and it's not even particularly close. I know the Giants guys get a lot of accolades. I've listened to it. I don't really, I'm like, okay. I mean, yeah, to me, they sound like Mud and Don Light, and I know the Dodgers guys, Oral and what's the other guy, Joe Smith.
Yeah, Joe Davis.
Joe Davis, sorry, not Joe Smith. Joe Davis. They get a lot of accolades. I think for good reason. They're pretty good as well, but it just doesn't come close. Mud and Don are
the only
best.
Tandem, I guess, that comes close would be like Gary, Keith, and Ron with the Mets. That's the only, and it's still, I think, having a 3-man booth, it's great, but that kind of takes away from the two's relationship. It's just out of this world, really.
Yeah, the chemistry between those two guys it's astounding. I've been up in the booth and watched them kind of prep and do their pregame, and it's not shtick, man. It's and people's hearts would be broken to know, probably some of their favorite bands or their favorite radio shows or their favorite whatever. The guys really didn't like each other off the air, but they were able to turn it on, right? And give a good show. I mean, God, especially in the music business and in the radio business, not Ben and I, madly in love. But you'd be surprised, man. You'd be like, wow, I had no idea it really comes through on the air. Well, that's because they're pros, but those two guys genuinely love working together. And I think when you work with a partner like that, because I do, you look at it and go, I can't imagine like doing this with anybody else, because the feeling is just so good, even when they drive you crazy. And I know I make Ben insane. I think you both realize, oh, we're way better off going insane every now and then than having to do this with somebody else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're also lucky, like you mentioned, to have you and Ben Higgins on every morning. I listened to the interview that you had with Dawn last week.
Yeah.
And it's just a long chat pretty much between two Padre fans. I haven't said this to anyone, but I like to call you guys from that interview, like you said, the Dawn and Mud of radio. I'll put it that way. So yeah, go ahead. Just talk about your guys' relationship. And it's just a great, again, a conversation between two buddies.
Yeah, we have a pretty amazing story in that I was trying hard to get something permanent. I'd been the morning show host at 94.9 for years, but when the Padres came to 94.9, I petitioned hard to get a job with the baseball broadcast, doing something, anything, pregame, postgame. I just wanted to be involved. My partner at the time ended up getting fired. I ended up quitting, and kind of stupidly thinking, oh, well, it'll be fine. Like, my phone will ring off the hook. Somebody will want me on their station. And nobody did. Nobody did. I was as scared and beating myself up. It was a really rough, dark time. And so I had a buddy that worked at Mighty 1090, and he's like, hey, there may be an opening on January 1st. And so I'm on the phone. I'm doing the dance. I'm trying to get in there anyway, anyhow. And I did a couple of audition shows with another host from there, and they didn't want to do that move. So I'm sitting at home. I don't really know what's going on. I know I'd been working part-time for who's our competitor now, filling in. And I would do a show with like Nick Hardwick. I did a show with Rich Ornberger. I'd jump on with my buddy Mike Costa, Steve Hartman, and just I had so much fun doing sports radio because it was a new thing for me. And I brought something different in that I was kind of a music guy, but also love baseball tremendously. I don't really like talking about the NFL or the NBA. I mean, which is great because we don't have either of those things here in San Diego. And so I'm sitting at home, not really knowing what's going to happen. My little son, Bo, had just been born, and I'm dying, man. I'm dying for an opportunity. And so the guy named Mike Glickenhaus from the Mighty 1090 calls me, and I'm on speaker, and he goes, hey, Woodsy, loved the tapes, and I loved our meeting yesterday. What do you know about Ben Higgins? And I go, nothing. I go, we think we follow each other on Twitter. He goes, well, why don't you guys meet today for lunch, and then let me know by the end of the day if you guys think you can do a show together. And I go, okay. And he goes, by the way, Ben's sitting in here. Ben's like, hi, Woods, nice to meet you. So we go to the Regal Seagull, and we sit down for a beer, and I start vomiting on him all of the ideas I have. I want to do things different. Like, it's so everybody does the same shit. I want to do something different. And Ben's just like, okay. And Ben's very traditional, very traditional. And I go, no, let's do it like this. And we talked for about an hour and a half. And I got up and was like, I'm in if you're in. And he's like, yeah, let's give it a shot. And he told his wife, he goes, this is either going to be the best decision I ever made or the worst. And so I went home to my wife and I go, I like him. He's cool. He's like straight man. I'm not. I go, I really think this could work. So they literally just put this show together in like 10 minutes. And they threw us on the air, and it took me a little while to get my sea legs and for us to feel each other out. But honestly, I always point back to the day that Manny Machado signed here. Was the day our show became like together, and Paul obviously being a big part of that as well. And I look back at that and I go, that was kind of the day. And that was a few months into our career at Mighty 1090. And dude, I can't tell you, like, Ben is not only like the best human alive, he's so talented on the air. But the thing I obviously love the most about him is he trusts me. You know, he knows I'm not going to, I'll lead us to the line, but I won't lead us over the line. And he trusts me. And when I say I got an idea, he goes, okay, let's try it. He is he's just the best dude. I have tried to like emulate him, just the way he carries himself. Nothing really bothers him. And I can't imagine not working with him. I would hate it. Like I would hate it. And he drives me crazy. And I know I drive him crazy, but he is so good. And we just have a really good vibe. Our show loves each other, man. We fight and we, butt heads, but like we all go play golf together a couple days a week after the show. We do barbecues together. We go to dinner together. We go on vacations together. It's rare in this business that you want to hang out with those people after work. Mm-hmm. And I'm very lucky, man. I'm very lucky that both of them are very accepting of me and trustworthy. And, they're not going to stab you in the back, and they're not looking at other opportunities. Everyone's pretty happy with where we are. So I'm the luckiest dude alive. Seriously. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that kind of leads me to my next question. The same thing you asked to Don. Will you be in San Diego for life?
Yeah, no question. Now, whether I'm doing radio or selling cars or something, I will be here. I got here in 2010. My first day on the radio was February 1st, 2010. But I got here maybe January 25th, 26th, and was kind of being shown around by my very first host, who was a guy named Mikey. And dude, it was over for me. I mean, it was like, all right. I mean, how could you want to be anywhere else? And my wife, I married a woman here that was born and raised here. Father was on the news here. San Diego legend. He was a San Diego legend. She's a San Diego legend in her own right. And dude, I'm not kidding you when I say, like, I'll never live 10 miles outside of where I live right now. I mean, I will die here. I'm going to raise my kids here. Radio for me is a huge, huge passion, but San Diego I'm more passionate about San Diego than I am about radio. I mean, this is where, dude, I paid $4.50 for gas this morning. Rent is through the roof. Everything's 50 times more expensive. I don't care. It's worth it. You get what you pay for. Like I'm once we get off the phone, I'm going to go hit balls. It's going to be 75 degrees. Mm-hmm. I'm going to play golf this weekend. Like, you cannot beat this place. And so as passionate as I am for Ben and Woods and the radio business, I'll do whatever I have to do to stay here. So hopefully that's on the air, for the rest of my career. I would love to work with Ben and Paul for the rest of my career. But it will be in San Diego. I will say this with 1,000,000% accuracy. I won't take a job in any other market. Now, you can simulcast me in other markets. I don't care. I just want to be here. This is home. I'll be buried here. Because the thing is, man, is that there's a couple of cities I love in America. I love Chicago. I went to college there. And they have all the sports teams and huge sports tradition, right? Be awesome. Be an awesome place to work. They could call me today and say, hey, we've got $1 million for you. We're going to give you $1 million offer, which is significantly larger than I make now. And I would run home to my wife and go, oh my God, they offered me $1 million to do morning drive in Chicago. And she'd be like, so we're not going. And I'd be like, oh, Yeah, you're right. I mean, you can't do it. So I'm never leaving here. My kids are never leaving here. This is home forever.
Mm-hmm. All right, some quick hitters here.
Yep.
Who's your favorite Padre currently?
Manny,
I know your wife loves Jake. Who's your
big
favorite?
Jake fan.
Yep.
I'm a Manny guy. We're a Machado household. I've loved him forever since he came up. I've never seen anything. I've never seen anybody do with a glove and with an arm what he does. He is the most misunderstood man in baseball, and the most poorly portrayed person. And I hate when they're on national TV because the same tired bullshit Manny narratives are always spewed out there. It's like you haven't watched one game. All you have to do, watch that team for a week and watch how he treats guys that just come up to the big leagues. I've talked to Brian O'Grady about what a teammate Manny is. I've talked to all those guys. You saw Camarena hit the grand slam. Manny gives him the chain, pats him on the back. Manny is the undisputed leader and captain of that team. So he's my favorite.
Favorite all-time Padre?
It's a good question. I would have to say Tony because even though I grew up, my dad was a Yankee fan, adopted me in 1985. I'd never really even watched baseball. And I lived in Connecticut at the time. And Tony Gwynn was a guy that cut through. I mean, how far is Connecticut from San Diego? It's about as far as you can go on a map of the United States. And I had two Tony Gwynn posters on my wall when I was growing up. And I never got a chance to meet him when I was here, but I've obviously I work with his son. Some of my best friends played ball for him at San Diego State, and he was just a guy that cut through so much. I mean, thousands of miles away. I was a huge Tony Gwynn fan, and then my other favorite. I mean, I got a couple. Hoffy is like the greatest dude alive. And one of the most surreal things to ever happen to me in this business, and I've had a lot of them. It's the winter meetings a couple of years ago. We're down at the hotel and we finished up the broadcast and we're walking out, me and Paulie, and we run right into Hoffy. And we met Hoffy at fantasy camp, hung out with him. He's great. And he goes, Paulie, what's he? He goes, I was just listening to you guys in the car. I was laughing my ass off. And I'm like, oh my God. Like that to me was the weirdest, wildest moment of my career. It was insane. I'm like, oh my God, Trevor Hoffman was listening to our show. We made him laugh. And so those guys, I love Heath Bell is amazing. He played on my adult league baseball team with us. He's the best. He came out and pitched for me and played and hit and was like the greatest teammate and guy ever. So there's a lot of them, man. I got a lot of them over the years. Ashby, I mean, there's so many. There's so many of the old guys I love. Randy Jones, I love them all.
Yeah, quick Heath story. I don't remember this. I went to Orlando Little League in La Mesa, and I have to ask my mom. I don't know what age I was, but we were, I think, unveiling the new lower field. It was like the better of the two fields.
Yeah.
And Heath Bell came with the Padres, with Pod Squad, stuff like that. And he was signing autographs down, I think, the left field line. And he actually picked me up over the fence and like airplaned me around the field.
It's amazing.
So I think my mom has pictures of that. But yeah, such a great guy. Again, I don't remember that, but just such a great guy.
We're in a dugout. Is it Oceanside High? I think it is. Where Junior Seau went. I think it's Oceanside High. We're playing a game. We're all in the dugout, and somebody fouls one off, right? And it's, playing adult, fast pitch, wood bat league. Somebody fouls one back in the parking lot, and I like get up to start to go get it. And Heater is up off the bench running out into the parking lot to shag foul balls in an adult league baseball game. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy's made millions in his career. He's been an all-star, and he's running out to shag foul balls. That told me everything I needed to know about the great Heath Bell.
Mm-hmm. One player you want to see in a Padres uniform.
Nick Castellanos is my
Okay.
guy. I have a almost unhealthy man crush on Nick Castellanos. I feel like the couple reasons. I like the attitude he plays with. I like the chip on his shoulder. He's a guy who's been passed around a little bit. He's found a home in Cincinnati. But God, I just have this. There's no moment that's too big for him, and I just have this weird feeling that he would fit in so well on this team. He's got a lot of attitude. He's got some Manny type attitude and confidence, and the word swag is a bit played out at this point, but he's got the swagger. He's got the ability, and I just feel like somebody said this on Twitter, and it clicked in my head, and I went, "Oh God, yeah." I feel like he would murder the Dodgers. I feel like he alone could beat them in a series. I just feel like he's made for that moment, and he's just fearless, and I love that. I mean, he'd be close to my number one. Obviously the Mike Trouts and Shohei Otanis and stuff aside,
Right.
he's a guy you could go get feasibly. It would cost you, but I feel like you could get him here. So I think being practical, he would be my pick.
Winker's another guy too.
Oh God! I told
yeah.
my wife last night. I go, they were doing the All-Star pregame stuff, and those two were in a car.
Yeah.
And I go, you don't even know what I would give to have both of those guys here. Unbelievable.
Your favorite interview ever?
Oh God, man. We've had two really good Fernando Tatis Jr. interviews. He's up there. He's a lot of fun. I think the most special one for our show is when we did a Christmas show, and we had Manny and Yaini on with us, his wife, and we had them on Zoom for 20 minutes, and it was pretty awesome. It was pretty special, and we didn't have, it was our Christmas special, so we weren't doing a normal sports show. We were doing a bunch of Christmas stuff, and we had them on to kind of talk about Christmas and family, and family is so important to them. And I would say that's probably my favorite, because we teased it and no one knew, and it was just really special, and it was a long time coming to get him on, and they were awesome together, and it was pretty special. So I'd have to say Manny 1, Tatis 1A.
Okay. One person you'd like to interview in the future?
Ooh, it's a good question. I got so many. I like when sports shows kind of go outside the norm, obviously, and interview. We've had some fun interviews with comedians and stuff. Trying to think what would be the best. I mean, me selfishly, you don't probably even know who this is, but there's a band from the 70s, 80s, 90s called Kiss. Kiss used to paint their face.
I've heard of him. Yeah. Yep.
Heard of Kiss. So their lead singer, Paul Stanley, would be for me a bucket list. There's a couple of music guys that love sports that I think would be a lot of fun on our show. There's a singer named Jason Isbell that we all really like. He's way into baseball, so he'd be up there. As far as sports guys, I'll be honest with you. I mean, most of the interviews we do, it's more about, hey, we got so-and-so on. None of them are really, for the most part, that dynamic or good of, they're cliche guys, man. A lot of them are cliche guys. So I love talking to broadcasters. I love talking to, I like talking to the guy at the last seat on the bullpen, honestly, those guys are the best interviews. Matt Strom's always been amazing to our show. And we'll tell it like it is. That's all I care about. I don't care who it is. I just want them to be able to give us something that we haven't heard before. You don't have to shock the audience, but you want to get the inside stuff, and so many players are so reserved because things do get taken out of context so many times, that it can mess up your day. It can mess up your week, your month, whatever. So they're all very careful, but there's some music guys. There's some, who I'd love to interview so much. Do you watch Ted Lasso?
I've heard of it. I'm not a big show guy, but yeah, I've heard of it.
So Jason Sudeikis, he was on Saturday Night Live. He's been in a bunch of movies. He plays Ted Lasso. He would be probably at the top of my bucket list right now, getting Jason Sudeikis on. And I'm gonna have Paulie really push for that because I know they're doing press for the new season of Ted Lasso. That'd be up there right now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Your top 3 moments from this year. Mine's the no-hitter, Tatis 5 homers at Dodger Stadium that weekend, and then Caratini's walk-off.
Yeah, the no-hitter for me was so special. It was awesome. I loved it. We got to talk to Joe the very next day. I think we had just had him on our show like on Wednesday too, and it was awesome. And he got it on Friday. That's there. I'd say that one. I'm not even joking when I say Brian O'Grady's home run was probably the most exciting. I was like elated because we've had so much fun with him throughout the course of the season. He's been such a good sport with our show. He's been like magical. I was DMing with him last night about his bat company, Richie Bats, and we were shooting the breeze, and I've gotten to know his wife a little bit. That when he hit that bomb, my Twitter went crazy, my phone went crazy. It was amazing. And I gotta say, man, the Camarena Grand Slam was like nothing you could ever imagine. I mean, there's no business. He's got no business being up there and against Max Scherzer, and he's got no business hitting a grand slam off that guy. And I know his agent really well, and I've met Daniel once. Super nice guy, quiet dude, and that was like a really special baseball moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one is right outside my top 3. If we did 5, probably Tatis's 3-homer game. A little biased because I went to that, but
yeah.
But yeah, there's been so many great moments, and hopefully that list makes it even harder to see, to decide what's in our top 3, top 5, in the second half.
Yeah.
Last one.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, that you make a good point because one thing after the season's after the season ends, no matter what happens, if you win the World Series, if you make the playoffs, whatever, there's still so much to hold on to for Padre fans from this year. I mean, there's so much, and go ask an Orioles fan, if they feel the same way, or an Indians fan if they feel the same way. My God, even a Yankee fan, I mean, go ask them. And there are teams that are in first place that, what's there really to be excited about? Really, honestly, like, there's just haven't been the moments that we've gotten to experience here in San Diego and Slam Diego for the last, year. It's a magical place right now. And you can't ever lose sight of that, regardless of wins and losses. You cannot lose sight of the joy that this team has provided.
Last quick one here. TV show, simulcast. Have you ever thought of putting Ben and Woods on Channel 4 or Bally Sports or anything like that?
It's like my biggest nightmare. We've never been approached to do it. Anytime I ever have to go on TV, like with Ben, I love doing radio. Like I can do radio. You put a microphone in front of me, I'll be fine. I don't really have any desire to do it. Ben's obviously very comfortable there. I'm pretty self-conscious, and like me being honest, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna look like a whale on TV. So I'd do it if they asked me and like paid me to do it, but you'd have to pay me to simulcast. But shit, I'm not doing it for free. I'm not doing it for free. I would do it if you paid me. And that's it.
Okay.
That's the only way I do it.
Okay. All right. Wow. Almost 50 minutes here. That was amazing. Thank you so much. That was an amazing interview. Had so much fun. And if you ever need a guest host, I got you. I know you're going on vacation.
But yeah, Ben's leaving me for like a week at some point, and then I'm leaving in August. But yeah, we'll keep you in mind, man. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you.
It's my only piece of unsolicited advice is, consistency is key. It is, and try to have the you actually prepare more for your podcast than I do for my radio show, but the don't, just be consistent, and you'll continue to get better and better and better. If you ever need anything, hit me up, man. Always here to help.
All right. Thank you so much. This has
All
been
right, bro.
episode 38 of the Talking Friars podcast. It ends. Stephen Woods with us again. Until then, until our next episode, let's go Padres.